And then the next thing I know is I just feel the shock, a huge shock just hit me. And I'm like, who the just defibrillated me? And I kind of calmed down for a second. I was like, did my heart just stop? And he's like, yeah. They put the cath in, get out, and I had my LED 100% blocked. So then I go vegan, and it actually got worse. Mentally, physically, I started looking into all this keto stuff. I was like, you know what? Let me give it a try. Let me give it a try for a month. As I'm researching keto from these different doctors on YouTube, you hear Carnivore come up. He's like, if you want to be at the best health you possibly can, go Carnivore, go Carnivore. I'm going to get busy dying or I'm going to get busy living, one of the two. There's no middle ground, because that middle ground is hell.
Welcome to Respond to Resilience, along with my co-host, Bonnie Rumley, LCSW EMT. I'm David Dashinger. Join us today as we dive into the inspiring journey of Lieutenant Danny Smith. He's a retired firefighter who faced a life-altering medical event and emerged with a renewed passion for health and nutrition. So tune in to hear how he turned adversity into opportunity, embracing the power of dietary and lifestyle changes to spark remarkable health improvements, and discover how you might be able to do the same. We invite you to like and subscribe YouTube, Respond to Resilience, Facebook, Responder TV, LinkedIn, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and go to our website, respondertv.com, for past episodes and guest information.
This episode is made possible by the First Responder Center for Excellence. Discover more at firstrespondercenter.org and connect with us on X, Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, and YouTube.
There's a new app built by firefighters for firefighters, and it's called Crackle. Download the app now for free as a Legacy member and get early access to exclusive content, tools, and updates as they drop. Get the free app at crackle.respondertv.com.
We'll be right back to speak with Danny after this.
In this family, more of us die by our own hands than by the hazards of the job.
In this family, up to a quarter of 911 telecommunicators have symptoms of post-traumatic stress.
In this family, our mental health and wellness are in crisis,
while responders are quietly suffering.
In this family, many struggle with job-related stress,
burnout, moral injury, sleep disruptions, substance abuse,
and relationship problems.
In this family, we can help the helpers.
With vital information and resources,
resilient strategies,
and success stories of overcoming the obstacles.
In this family, no one is alone.
Welcome to Respond to Resilience with co-hosts retired Lieutenant David Dashinger, Dr. Stacy Raymond, and Bonnie Rumley, LCSW EMTB.
So we welcome Lieutenant Danny Smith to Respond to Resilience. Danny's a retired firefighter with 18 years of dedicated service, including 16 years at the Orlando Fire Department and 2 at a previous department. In 2017, he faced a life-changing moment when he was medically retired after a critical cardiac event, which sparked his deep dive into health and nutrition, leading him to discover transformative insights for improving well-being. Since then, Danny has dedicated himself to helping others achieve their health goals through dietary and lifestyle changes, and shares his journey and the profound results he's experienced. LT, welcome to Respond to Resilience.
Thanks for having me.
It's nice to meet you, Lieutenant. Thanks for this today.
Oh, you're welcome.
So if you don't mind, but we're first responders too, so we like to jump right to it.
Okay.
So take us back to your cardiac event, and just for our viewers and listeners, please share and set up the scene for them on what happened to you.
Okay. The actual event. First symptom I had was been doing jiu-jitsu now for 21 years, and so this was 8-9 years ago now, and my event actually happened September 28th of 2016, but a couple weeks before that, I started having symptoms. Of course, we're our worst patients, right?
Yes.
So I was doing jiu-jitsu at the time. We had a really hard workout, and I started having this pain in my epigastric area, like right in the middle of my chest. Not the chest itself, but epigastric chest area. Mm-hmm. And got done with the workout, was really weak, kind of laid on the mats and just relaxed. And I was there for like 30, 45 minutes, and then it kind of subsided, felt better, felt like I could move. So I chalked it up to, I've had gastritis before in the past, so it kind of felt like that, but a lot more intense. So that I actually went to the fire station that I worked at. I was off duty that day. Went down there, had them put me on the monitor, check me out real quick, and everything looked pretty good to me. And him too. I mean, he's a seasoned paramedic, and I'm a paramedic also. And I looked at him, I was like, maybe I'm just dehydrated. Maybe I'm getting a little touch of the gastritis back. So that kind of rested I went home, I rested. A couple days go by, and then my daughter was in jiu-jitsu. So, I took her to class, and I help teach when I'm there. So I go and then I'm playing with the kids, and they got this game called Bulldog, where you kind of like try to catch the kids and they run around you. So it's kind of fun.
Uh-huh.
And then I started having that pain again. And, at the time, the gym's probably about 30 minutes from my house. So, after we leave, I'm driving home with that pain, and I'm looking for a gas station to get some Tums or something like that. Get Tums, go home. By the time I get home, the pain's gone. So it's always like 30, 45 minutes later. Fast forward maybe a few more days. I don't know the exact days, but I'm actually working, and we get a fire. We go get a fire. The pain comes back again, and I'm like, oh man. And get done with the fire, finish it all, and we go back to do inspections because we were doing inspections right before it came out. And I told the crew, I was like, hey, can you guys just go without me? I'm gonna hang back because I'm not feeling too well. Mm-hmm. Luckily, we didn't get a call for the rest of the shift. I felt really bad. The following shift, and we work every third day. I know different fire departments do it different. So the following shift was I called in sick because I still wasn't feeling good. And then I didn't do any working out around that time. And then 3 days later is my Kelly day. Well, I get called for overtime, and I was like, I still don't feel good. I didn't take the overtime, and normally I'll take all the overtime I can get. Then I took my daughter to school. It was like a daddy-daughter morning kind of thing. Did that, come back home, and I'm like, man, I've got to get a workout in because I felt like I hadn't worked out much. Mm-hmm. Well, I had the Insanity workout, and I put that in. And it was crazy because I couldn't find anything to play it. Nothing would play it. So I was really wanting to work out. So I looked everywhere. I found like an old, receiver or whatever, put it in there, and finally worked. I'm like, okay, cool, I got it. Man, that was the worst pain I ever felt. I was floored. I mean, that pain hurt so much. And actually, rewind just a little bit. The day that I called in sick, so the day before my Kelly day, or the shift before my Kelly day, I went to the urgent care, and they thought the same thing as me. They thought it was my belly. They thought it was, maybe the gastritis kicking up. So they gave me some stuff for stomach, and that never really worked, because it wasn't what was going on. So fast forward, they gave me a thing to go to a GI doctor. So I'm having this pain, and I'm sitting here at home by myself. My girl's at work, my kid's at school, and then I'm like, you know what? Let me call the GI doctor, see if I can get in today. So I call him up, and I'm like, hey, I said, I'm having this horrible pain. I was referred to you guys. He's like, oh, we can get you in next month. And I'm like, no, I need it yesterday, not right now. Not in a month.
Right.
So then I was like, oh man, I was like, I probably got to go to the hospital. I mean, I was in a lot of pain. I mean, I have super high pain tolerance, and that was a 12 out of 10. It was the worst pain I've ever felt. So I called my girl up, and she worked here in Oviedo. The city I live in, and the fire department, my previous fire department that I worked for was here, where I worked there 2 years. So I called her up, and I'm like, hey, from the tone of my voice or whatever, she knew something wasn't right. So she came right home, and I was in my truck, started up. I had a little backpack, figured I was going to be overnight. Driving on down to the hospital, we hit every single light on the way, and I had a bottle of Tums. It wasn't a big bottle of Tums, but it was like about that size.
Yeah.
And I had half of it done, and it's only like 10 minutes away. I had half of it down by the time we got there. So we pull up to the ambulance entrance, and a security guard came out. He's like, hey, you need a wheelchair? And I'm like, no. And of course that pride gets in you. He's like, no, I don't need one. And then I was like, I took a couple steps, and I'm like, yeah, let me get that wheelchair. So they wheel me in. Nurse's station's right there. And then the doctor kind of notices me, and then the charge nurse comes over. He says, what's going on? I said, I think I'm having an acute bout of gastritis right now. And around that time, the pain started going down. It was about 30, 45 minutes later. It was a magic time that it would go down, and it started going down. And for me, I'm like, oh, maybe I didn't need to come in here,
Hey firefighters, let's take a moment to talk about something important. There's a new app built by firefighters for firefighters, and it's not just another wellness tracker or generic resource hub. It's called Crackle. You've probably seen the magazine, but this is the next evolution. The app is about one thing: helping firefighters not fail. not just on the job, but in life, in your health, your relationships, your mindset, and your longevity. That's why Crackle is designed to meet firefighters exactly where they are, with resources that make sense, are easy to use, and actually respect your time. You can download the app now for free as a legacy member. That means you get early access to exclusive content, tools, and updates as they drop. Use the QR code on the screen to download the Crackle app, or you can download it from the App Store or Google Play and stay in the fight, not just at work, but at home and in your own head too. Because your best days shouldn't be behind you, they should be ahead of you.
So I go and I'm like, yeah, I'm having about gastritis, I think, and they're like, oh, okay, yeah, they put me right into a room. So I get in the room and I'm telling the nurse my story. She's like, okay, we'll get some tests done, and then my girl's in the room with me, and then I'm only in the room maybe 5 minutes, maybe not even that. And then I vaguely remember the EKG tech coming in, and then the nurse starting to lie on me, and I look at the catheter. I'm like, oh, we're going to those catheters, and then next thing I know is like, I feel like I'm gonna pass out, and she's like, no, you're good. So then I just went out. Everything was closed up. And then the next thing I know is I just feel the shock. I mean, a huge shock just hit me, and I'm like, "Who the just defibrillated me?" And then I hear a voice. I couldn't see anything. Everything was all blurry, and I was down, and I couldn't see anything. But I felt that pain. And then I hear a voice say, "I did," and I was like, "Don't you effing do that again!" And he's like, "No, go into VFib or VTAC," and I won't. And I was like, and I kind of calmed down for a second. I was like, did my heart just stop? And he's like, yeah. And at this point, I couldn't see anything. I mean, I couldn't see nothing. Like, everything was all blurry, and I couldn't picture out. But I heard a lot of people around me. And then I started hyperventilating because I was like, everything just became real. And then I don't know how long it took, maybe a minute or two. And then I started seeing people. And, when I went out, there was only, the nurse, my girl, and then the EKG tech coming in, and then next thing I know is like 20 people in there, and then so I started realizing what happened, and then so I was at a hospital. They didn't have a cath lab, so they had to ship me to another hospital. So they get me out, and then it was an EMT and then a paramedic, a little small girl, and this will come into play here in a second. So then So they're wheeling me out on the stretcher, and then get me in the back of the truck, and it's just her and I back there, right? So then I'm like, is there anybody else coming? And she's like, there is nobody else. I was like, there's a bunch of doctors and nurses right there. They'd be coming right here with me. So then she's like, nope, it's just us. And I'm thinking, I've run a ton of codes in my time. I've worked in a hospital for years, and then running codes we have at least 3-4 people in there sometimes. And it's only me and this little girl. I was like, and we're like 20 minutes out. So I'm like, if something happens, you're not going to be able to do anything. Nothing. You're just going to be, hey, give me the cross. And
Right. I hope she has a CPR machine in there.
I don't think they had those. So then, so we get to the hospital. It's like 20 minutes out. And in my head, I'm still hyperventilating. Usually I can control my breathing, but I just couldn't do it this time. There's no way. So we get to the hospital, and I'm thinking in my head the whole time, I was like, please know what you're doing, please, because you don't want to die. So we get into the cath lab. I mean, they wheeled me directly to there. So I'm looking around, I didn't notice anybody. Then they're kind of putting me on the table, and I looked to the side, and I was like, John, guy I used to work with, John Panzella. He's over there, and he's got like he's dressed up. He's not in scrubs or anything like that. I was like, John, what are you doing here? He's like, I work here. I was like, in the cath lab? And he's like, no, he works in the education department. I guess he had gotten wind that an OFD guy was coming in. So he came over, and then I'm like, cool. So like when I saw him, it kind of calmed me down at that point. So then they gave me whatever Versed or to drug me up, and then I don't remember a whole lot about the procedure. Apparently I was semi-awake, but not all the way awake. And then they put the cath in, get out, and I had my LED 100% blocked. And then they were able to get the blockage out and then put a stent in, and then Then I went to ICU for a few days and a little bit in the regular room for another days, and then went home.
So that's a lot there to unpack. And I kind of want to just ask a couple of questions, like how old were you when this all went down? And then once, if you could rewind a little bit to like your lifestyle, your sort of, what you were doing in terms of diet, sports, exercise, and work before all this happened.
So I was 39 at the time, and working out, I worked out all the time. I mean, I was in busy stations most of my career, having little to no sleep most of the time, and I would religiously go to the jiu-jitsu. Like I got hooked from the very first time I started. I just got hooked. So I would literally, we get off shift at 8. I would literally try to sleep at a station till like 10ish, and then get up. And it's hard to sleep because the guys are cleaning and stuff like that.
Busy time.
Yeah, exactly. And then there's always somebody on the intercom, so it's like not even sleep, but I'm trying. And then I would go to jiu-jitsu. And then by the time I get home from jiu-jitsu, I have maybe a half an hour to get a nap in, and then go pick my daughter up. And then it's, and then at that point it's like dinner time, and, a lot of stuff going on. And that was my typical day.
Right.
So I worked out like a lot, like it was hard for me to lose weight unless I was working out. And I would work out 2, 3, 4 times a day would be for me to be able to lose weight. But my diet was never really I didn't go to fast foods a whole lot, but I wouldn't really have the best diet, especially knowing what I know now. It was crappy diet, and it's just the standard American diet, and people don't know. And there's so much out there that it's hard to know which one's right,
Yeah.
Are you a clinician working with first responders? Or perhaps a first responder eager to enhance your mental health knowledge? We have something special just for you. Introducing the Clinician's Guide to Working with First Responders series, exclusively on Responder TV. Join us as we explore vital topics that can transform your practice and boost your resilience. Dive into masterclass episodes like Clinician's Guide to Wellness Programs and Internships with Wendy Hummel, Building Trust with Law Enforcement with Dr. Medina Baumgart, Clinician's Guide to Peer Support and Officer Wellness with Captain Mike Fumiati, Mental Health Canines and Crisis Response with Brad Cole, Clinician's Guide to Inpatient Treatment Facilities with Pat Fitzgibbons, Working with Unique Fire and Law Populations with Dr. Robbie Adler-Tapia, and Clinician's Guide to Psychological Autopsies with Elizabeth Pohl, and more. Don't miss out. Tune in to elevate your practice and increase your cultural competency. Visit respondertv.com or find us on YouTube, Facebook, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify.
Well, I'm particularly interested in the psychology of all of this, and how does someone, first of all, process it, cope with it, and then how do you decide, or is it decided for you, where you move on after this?
So it was rough. It was super, super rough for me because you get a lot of stress in your life that you never really deal with, right? And then when something like this happens, you deal with it all at once.
Right.
So it was very rough. I mean, I remember coming home from, like, I would still go to jiu-jitsu even though all this happened. Like, I would basically do nothing there. And I would go there because I wanted to get out of the house. I wanted to do something because it was hard. It was hard mentally. It was hard physically. It was hard everything, So I would go there, and I'd feel great because I'd been around the guys, and and it was cool. But then I'd drive home and I'd be crying on the way home, and it was tough. And then that kind of snowballed, and it got really bad where I got suicidal, and it was hard to deal with it, and I was trying to figure it out. And you have this ego on you. You're trying to figure it out on your own. And I'm going back to John Panzella. He had to retire out due to an injury that he had, and he had his medical things, and he kind of noticed things that were happening to me, and he definitely steered me in the right direction. Mm-hmm. So after a while of these things that I was going through, he got me to go and get help, which definitely helped out. It was counseling, and I went there, and it was they did EMDR on me, to where they were doing it, and that helped, but didn't do it all. I mean, but before then, maybe rewind a little bit. Before then, I was trying to do things on my own. Like I was learning about breathing techniques. I was learning about cold exposures. I was learning about meditation, yoga, all these different things, which I still do the breathing and I still do the cold exposure. I don't do the yoga anymore. And I don't really meditate anymore. I've been getting, I actually just got baptized on Saturday. So I've been going to church. And so that's been my way of dealing with life, basically life. And I, so now going to therapy, that was helping, but that wasn't the thing that totally got me over the edge. So rewind back again a little bit more. So after the event happened, I was like, I weighed 245 at my highest. I'm down to 200 pounds right now, sustained for the past like 3 years. And I did get down to 170, which I was way too thin. And of course, learning diet and the way you should be eating, I started learning a lot of stuff about it. So after the event, maybe about a year later, I talked to a buddy, he's a cop and a nurse at the same time. And he was like, man, if you really want to get healthy, go vegan. And I'm like, and you always hear about fruits and vegetables. They're like the best thing for you on this planet, right? So I'm like, you know what? I'll do anything. Like it's easy for me to put myself back on that bed again and then decide something right on the spot, because I don't want that to happen again. So I can do that. So then I go vegan, and it actually got worse mentally, physically, everything. At first it was okay. I was losing weight and it was okay. And I understand why that it is after all the research and stuff that I've been through. I got better, but then about 3 months into it, it kind of just spiraled down, especially mentally. And that's when I was having these really bad bouts of suicidal thoughts and almost doing it too. And so it's about 2019. I go to Normandy for the 75th anniversary of D-Day because I play the bagpipes. So we went around to like Belgium. We were in Ireland for a couple of days, Normandy, and then Paris, and we played bagpipes throughout that area. And so I was noticing a guy that I work with. He's actually our bagpipe instructor, and he was on a keto diet, and he had lost a ton of weight. And I was watching what he was eating, and while I was there, I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna eat what they have here. Just go back to whatever I want to eat. And I just kind of enjoyed my little vacation. And then I'm watching what he's eating. I was like, man, I could do that. And I knew there was something to him losing the weight that he was, and how he was feeling great. And I was feeling like crap, really. My stomach always hurt, and I was like, I didn't feel normal. And so I get back, and I did a ton of research. I started looking into all this keto stuff, and I was like, you know what? Let me give it a try. Let me give it a try for a month. After that month, I'm like, man, you know what? This is working. So I kept going on and doing it. And as I'm doing it, I'm always researching, and rewind back a little bit. Like I talked to my cardiologist, and he was kind of like the mindset of, well, let's see what happens. There was no yes, no, or anything like that. He's like, well, let's see what happens. Felt a lot better while doing it. So as I'm researching keto from these different doctors on YouTube, you hear Carnivore come up. He's like, if you want to be at the best health you possibly can, go Carnivore. So about a year onto the diet, I was like, you know what? I've already noticed myself not eating certain things like naturally, like the vegetables and stuff like that, because you can still have vegetables on a keto diet. And I was like, you know what? I got to cut out a couple of things, and I'm right there. So I was like, let me try that for a month. I never looked back. And that was at the time when I started that. It was at the time I was going through therapy. So I was in therapy for about 2 or 3 weeks, and I had started that Carnivore like right around the time I started therapy. And I was only around that my time there, and I was like, and the guy's name was Steve. I was like, Steve, I said, I hope you don't take any offense to this, but I don't think I need you anymore. And he's like, why? He's like, so then I was like, I changed my diet, and I don't think the way that I used to. I don't think the way that I used to. And he's like, what diet is that? I told him, and he's like, man, I'm going to do some research on that. And ever since then, nothing has come back. nothing at all. The depression went away. The PTSD, suicidal thoughts, everything just kind of just went away. I still have it in my head, but it doesn't affect me emotionally at all anymore.
As firefighters and first responders, we're brilliant at the basics. We master the art of stretching the line, and we excel at being there for those who need us most. Yet even the best of us can be caught off guard. We sometimes face unexpected challenges like injury, cancer, or post-traumatic stress symptoms. But you're not alone. The First Responder Center for Excellence is here to equip you with the tools and resources you need to stay informed and prepared. We help you focus on staying strong, safe, fit, and resilient. Optimize your performance with cutting-edge health, wellness, and science information, from fitness to nutrition, medical evaluations to behavioral health, cancer awareness to cardiac health. We've got you covered. Remember, we're stronger together. Discover more at firstrespondercenter.org and connect with us on X, Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, and YouTube. The First Responder Center for Excellence. Equip yourself with excellence for every call.
So I want to circle back to the whole nutritional change that you made and some of the science behind it and some of the medical results you've gotten, and speak to that. But before we do, I wanted to touch on something we were talking about offline, and that's the unexpected retirement, right? The medical retirement, or some incident happens in our career that kind of just derails our job, right? In your case, as we're saying, none of us can really prepare for it because we don't want it to happen. We don't intend for it to happen. And really there's no, how are we going to plan for something that's so difficult to even pinpoint? But in your case, once you kind of settled, the dust settled from this intense medical journey, how did you start to cope and kind of get back grounded and sort of replace the things that are almost irreplaceable from the fire department, the tribe, the purpose, the mission, and just the structure of it all?
So, like I said, at first it was difficult, especially going through dietary changes that you're trial and error, and after a while there, it naturally came to me that I have to choose a purpose, and actually after a year after I retired, I had a baby. I didn't have the baby, she did. But so I'm going through all this with the brand new baby, and she was colicky, so it made it even harder on me. And I was home all the time, of course, with her. And it's like when you can't get a baby to calm down, and you're trying your hardest. And I was definitely not in good health around that time either. So naturally I was like, I have to try to stay alive for my baby daughter, Sophie. And if I can't, then she's going to grow up without a dad, and my oldest is not going to have a, and she was still, she was a teenager at the time. I think she was 10 when it happened, but, so I have two daughters that are in the house that I gotta, stay alive for. So I kind of put my mind in that mindset that I'm not doing it for me, I'm doing it for them. Because if I had to do it for myself, I was in a mindset that I didn't care, I was like, just take me now, so I really switch my focus to that, and it definitely did help a lot. So the purpose that I believe that I'm still here for is that I see so many people in the fire department that are sick with different cancers, heart issues, autoimmune issues, obesity, arthritises, and just a whole slew of things. And it's not just because it's specific to them. It's specific to the standard American eating people. A lot of these people have these things: rosacea, psoriasis, weird autoimmune diseases I've never heard of, like MS people. And I see people changing their diet. Not just me. I got involved with this Sean Baker community, and I did it to kind of learn for myself. But then I started watching all these other people and them completely changing their diet and completely reversing most of these chronic diseases that are out there. And then me thinking, is like, how many patients have I run on? And even when I worked in a hospital, how many patients that came in, there were chronic diseases that, in my opinion, are mostly linked to dietary stuff. And it's like, how many people do you run on every single day? You run on multiple times a day that all they have to do is change their diet. And then that's what I did to change my lifestyle and diet. And then now I'm off all the medications I'm supposed to be on for the rest of my life. And my numbers, because they said that I had a disease called hypercholesterolemia, which my LDL gets super high, and the numbers were super high, but it was because of my diet and not because of a genetic issue, because that's a genetic issue and it's not. I've been posting stuff, and mainly my meals. I'm posting my meals online, and if you look up on Google or anything like that, they're gonna say, limit your red meat, eat vegetables, eat fruits, and lower your salt intake. Well, the two things that I do a lot of is I increase my red meat intake, and I have a lot of salt, and all my numbers are perfect levels, everything, with zero medications, and they're actually not just normal, they're pretty good.
Wow. You touched on a really good point before, which is that it's not just one thing. It's not just therapy or just diet or just exercise. But I observe with my clients that the people who do better and heal quicker are the ones who embrace multiple things at the same time. And it sounds like you did that. And
yeah, 100%.
Look, you're right. We can do a lot with EMDR and therapy, but what you do outside matters. What you put in your body, what you do with your body, your mindset. So myself and other colleagues, we really encourage a lot of different supportive things to help yourself. So it sounds like all of the things you did were the perfect mix for you. And what I would say to listeners and viewers is you have to find what that perfect balance and mix is for your own health. And you went through so much in such a short amount of time. I'm really, really inspired by resilience. I know a lot of people don't like the word. It's part of our podcast, but I'm very, very interested in how you would characterize and describe how you built yourself back up and fought against that fear, because you were describing it before of that fear of it happening again. And so I'm wondering, what did you do mentally to build yourself back up and fight that fear response that you were having?
It didn't happen overnight. I always had a fear of it coming back again, because every time I have like a little stomach issue or whatever, and I hardly ever have that anymore. But when something like even hunger, when I get hunger pains, it kind of pops up in my head right away, and I'm like, no, that's not it, because I know what that feel like, that worst pain I ever felt like kind of feeling is, and this is definitely not it. But it always pops up in my head. But to get to the point to where I didn't, stew upon it for a while, it was probably maybe about a year into the carnivore diet, and I started the carnivore diet September 15th of 2020, right? Yeah, September 15th, 2020. So it was during COVID time. So around COVID time, I was able to do a lot. I was at home anyways. I couldn't go anywhere. So I was doing a lot of research around that time. Just instead of doing nothing, I was just researching. And then so around that time, it started to go away about a year into the carnivore diet. Like, I still think about it, but it doesn't affect me. Like, it won't be like, okay, I got to stop doing what I'm doing because I don't want this to happen,
Right. But what you described there is CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy, that you were changing your own response to a pattern that was learned, which was the fear. So I think that's really inspiring. And thank you so much for sharing that with us.
Yeah, a little motto that kind of helped me is if I'm going to get busy dying, or I'm going to get busy living. One of the two. There's no middle ground, because that middle ground is hell.
Right. Sometimes it takes that life-altering event, right, to adopt that mindset. We see like people that do kind of get busy dying, right? They come to that crossroads, and there's a choice at that point, right? Which way do we go? Are we going to put our energies into getting better, or just like letting things spiral down? So that's incredibly inspiring. Thanks for sharing that.
No problem.
Danny, I've had the opportunity to hang out with you a little bit. You were even eating breakfast before we started recording, and I've heard you play the bagpipes, which was great in Orlando this year earlier. Give us a snapshot or kind of a glimpse into your your culinary world, what do meals look like on a carnivore diet for you?
So I basically eat about 2 to 3 pounds of meat every day. And the carnivore diet is basically beef, butter, bacon, and eggs. It's like the staple. So it's easy to get. But you can go fish, you can go clams, you can go, bison, lamb, anything that has a mother, basically. You can eat. And then like I said, I went down to 170 pounds while I was on a carnivore diet. And I wasn't eating enough, because when you eat meat, you get satiated to where you don't feel like to eat much anymore. And, I was working out, trying to get healthier and actually doing a lot better. But then after a little while on there, I noticed I had to eat more. So that's why I eat about 2 to 3 pounds of meat every day. And now I've been at 200 pounds. I fluctuate between say 195 to 205, but 200 is about the middle level that I stay at for the past 3 years. And I eat about that much meat every day. And
3 meals a day?
No, usually I can go with 1 meal, but most of the time 2 meals a day, and maybe a little bit of snack in between, but mainly about 2 meals. Like today, I might do 1 or 2 meals today. Like I had 1.5 pounds of ribeye while I was talking to you. Yeah. So I might have another little small meal and then be okay for the rest of the day.
And what do snacks look like? What are those for you?
Like bacon. I have beef jerky. I make I have a dehydrator, so I put a little salt on. I have thinly sliced New York strips from Costco's, and so I put in there, and it's makes about 3 or 4 pounds of it. So I leave it inside the refrigerator and snack on that. And my daughter also eats that for her lunch for school. So she eats mostly like a meat-based kind of diet.
Now, something I'm wondering about is, we're not mentioning sugar, but is that something that when you're on the carnivore diet, you really have to cut out a lot of the carbs and a lot of the sugar-based products that the American diet generally has?
So the standard American diet is most people are eating out of a box, and we're not meant to eat out of a box. I mean, you go back, 100 years ago or whatever, you had to go out and get your own food. There's no nothing. You may get a berry or two here. Most plants on this planet are toxic to you. You can die. Most of the stuff that's inside even in the produce area is all that stuff's been genetically mutated. There's no broccoli in nature. There's no cauliflower. There's no all that stuff. It's all been genetically mutated to have that. But a carnivore diet is 0 carbs. But the thing is, you don't. There's no essential carbohydrate that you need to ingest in your body ever. There's essential fatty acids. There's essential amino acids that you must have, and of course minerals, and then of course water and salts. And that's all you need. So having a carbohydrate, you don't need it. Do you need glycogen for your muscles, for your brain, for your for different organs? Yes, you do. But your body converts that over. It's called gluconeogenesis. So most of the time it uses the proteins to do that. It can't use fat, but your body prefers using proteins. So when your body needs it, it automatically produces it, and it's actually a better fuel burning than it would be if you put it into like sugars and stuff like that.
We'll shift gears a little bit. As someone who's experienced a major medical event and coming from the world of the fire service, what advice would you give brother and sister firefighters about the high stress profession and managing their health?
First thing, sleep. We don't understand how sleep is super, super important for everything in your body. I mean, it causes heart disease. It causes cancers. There's a whole slew of things. It just depends on where's your weak point in your body. My weak point was my heart. And then that's where it happened. And like I said, I'd religiously not sleep and go to jiu-jitsu. So I thought working out, I can outwork out a bad diet. You always hear that, and it's absolutely not true. So sleep, I would the best you can to get sleep. I know if you're working, it's hard to, it's possible to, stop a call. You can't do that. So, but then afterwards, you just got to prioritize that sleep as much as you can. Right before I had retired, I was trying to say, why don't we change our start time till nighttime? So say you come in at 8 o'clock at night. Now I get off 8 o'clock the next night, and now I go right to sleep. There's no trying to push yourself throughout the day and then destroy because that day is a wash. Right. And then you truly only have 1 day off. Yeah. Instead of you hear, I work 1 day and 3 days, but you truly only have 1 day where you're recovering. So it should be I go home and then I start my recovery right then and there. And then I wake up in the morning. Now I have 2 full days of recovery instead of just one.
Right.
If they really want us to be healthier, should be on the top of their radar. I know they're trying to do this 24/72, which is good. But if you don't change that start time, that day that you're off, if you're up all night, you're at a busy station, you're still going to be not rested, not ready to go for your day.
Right.
So
the first day is shot pretty much.
Especially these guys that have jobs on their days off, So if you're mowing lawns or you work in a hospital, or whatever you do on your day off, and you don't even have to work. That should be your day off. You shouldn't have to recover the whole day to have on your time off.
Yeah, well, just to underscore, and it's pretty prevalent here in the state of Florida, is the 24/48s. I mean, that's a brutal schedule for anyone, not to mention trying to recover and get some sleep and turn around, come back. And that's assuming you're not working a swap or an overtime shift. So 24/72 is definitely a step in the right direction, but we're starting to see more and more of those 48/96s and some other permutations where there's more than 2 days off between shifts.
That's good. Other things I would do is definitely diet change. I mean, in my opinion, and it's not just what I've seen in myself. It's like almost every single person I've seen that actually does it right has gotten healthier. Every single person that I've seen. And then of course other people that I see on the podcast that I go with Sean Baker, and it's incredible. So if you get the closer that you can get to eating only meat, the healthier you're going to be, and removing all the poisons out of your diet, the healthier you're going to be. And if I would have known this earlier, I would still be working right now. It makes a huge difference because like you could take a vitamin, right? And they say, okay, this vitamin's good for you, but then you don't really feel a difference. You're like, you're kind of convincing yourself there's a difference.
Yeah.
No, there's a night and day difference when you change your diet. You're able to think better. You're able to move better. Pains go away. Digestion's way better. Your skin feels different. Your teeth feel different. Your hair feels different. I mean, it's a huge thing. So like taking a pill, people think, okay, I can take a pill, or like with mental health, I can do one thing and then I can fix it. I could take this one pill, I could fix it. Oh, I can go through therapy, I can fix it. Well, no, it's not just that. There's a lot of things that you need to do, because I tell everybody this, go back to if we're out your own, you didn't have stores, you had to hunt on your own and you had to do things. Well, we're going to be out in nature. We're going to be out in the sun. We're going to be grounding ourselves. You're going to be working out to try to get your animal. You get the animal. Well, also that you're not going to be the best hunter on the world, right? So you're going to fast for a certain amount of periods, first until you get your next meal. So you get your next meal, and then you're going to feast. So, and then you're going to keep on repeating that cycle. And then of course you're going to have family life where you need to be happy. You can't be sad all the time. And then all that is necessary in this modern world still.
So what do you want to say to the listeners or viewers right now who are kind of sitting there thinking, wow, I know I need to do something, but I just don't have the motivation? What could you say to those people?
One day at a time, one meal at a time. I mean, make better decisions. You're gonna fall. You're gonna fall, even though you want to get better. You're gonna fall, but don't stay down. Just keep getting up, and then it becomes a routine. And then after that routine, you're gonna see that you're like, man, I would have done this a long time ago. I've got friends of mine that from the fire department, and I was like, they see what's happening to me, and they, I play the bagpipes, so I come on around every once in a while, like, man, you're just like way different. And then you're still eating that meat still? And I'm like, yeah. It's just the way I eat now. But that didn't happen overnight. It was just constant. I was like, I'm going to get busy dying, or I'm going to get busy living, and I want to get busy living.
Danny, truly a story of resilience, like, mentally, emotionally, physically, medically. And we appreciate you sharing all this with us. And is there somewhere people can find you if they want to get more information, learn more about you or some of your, what you're doing?
Mainly on Instagram and Facebook. Those, I think I'm on TikTok too. And I think it's just Danny Smith. I think you can find me there.
Okay. Yeah, we'll put the links up there.
I think there's and it's FD Rescue on TikTok.
Okay. Yeah. Sounds great. Bonnie, any final thoughts before we wrap it?
Well, I really thank you for sharing your story with us, because these stories inspire people to make changes in their lives. And we don't know the ripple effects that either one of us or all of us have. on people, and we can't measure it, but I know that someone listening is going to make a decision for the better today because of you. So thank you so much for that.
Whoever can reach out to me, and I'm more than willing to help.
Yeah, thank you for being such a shining example of being able to bounce back from extreme adversity and find a new life and a new purpose after the fire service. I know how hard that is to do. So appreciate your being willing to share that with us today.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome.
Remember to like and subscribe YouTube, Responder Resilience, Facebook, Responder TV, LinkedIn, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and go to our website, respondertv.com for past episodes and guest information. Till the next time, stay safe, be kind to yourself, take care.